Hello, my awesome warrior journey moms. I am excited for today's lesson because this is where we really start to lay the foundation about why we do what we do and making sure that it's in alignment with what we really want. And teaching our kids to do that, to start gathering the evidence for why they do what they do and where those things lead, where their motives lead. So this is going to be fun. Um, in the book, this is where we start challenge one. So far we've kind of been doing the introduction and getting ready for the journey. Now we're really going to get going. So this is exciting. I like to do this by starting with a movie that I love, and I use this movie because I think most of us have seen it or read the book or seen some version of the movie because there's so many of them, including the musical. But it's Les Mis, and in it, I just love it because it has so many interesting characters that whose motives are very, very plain to see. They sing about them, they talk about them, they make it very obvious why they do what they do. And then we start to see the outcomes of where those motives lead them, right? And we can do this with any movie. So this lesson today, you can kind of take this and every time you watch a movie with your kids, kind of discuss, what were their motives and where did those lead? And when you read a book, you can kind of mention it and they can start to gather the evidence about where do certain motives lead, because that will really give them a strong foundation for where they want their motives to be and why, so that's so super important. So everything we do has a motive, right? We could say that we follow our motives. They almost lead us to act, right? And so when we examine our motives, we begin to discern who or what we're following. The right motives will bring light and truth and goodness and joy to all we do. And the wrong motives will make us feel tired and weary and will kind of just make even good things feel mundane and like drudgery. So it's so important to practice discerning and then practicing having the right motives in order to live a meaningful and joyful life. So we can begin this practice by, like I said, watching movies or different ways, because we can start to guess at the motives of the people around us and where those are leading, but we don't really know because they don't always tell us. But movies and books are really excellent because they will just flat out tell you that the author will say this is why they're doing what they're doing, or the people themselves on the movie, they make it very obvious why they do what they do. And so that's kind of a good way to start practicing and examining and gathering evidence. So in the movie Les Miserables, most of you have seen it, I'll just quickly summarize it, but there is a man who was in jail for, I think, 18 years because he stole a loaf of bread to feed his starving sister and her son, and he gets caught and he tries to escape a few times, which is why his sentence was so long, and he's pretty bitter at the world. There's this other girl named Fantine who had fallen in love and was betrayed by this guy she loved, and he left her with a new baby, and she had to raise this child on her own. And she goes to work and does everything she can to try to provide for this child who she leaves with this couple because she couldn't take her to the city with her, right? She leaves her with this couple who act like they're really going to treat her well, but end up just using her to make more money. And their motive was, of course, money and wealth and power. Her motive at first was to feel loved and cared about, but then when she was betrayed, it was just fear. She was just always driven by fear. Jean Valjean, of course, at the beginning, his motive was just kind of a revenge, and he was mad at the world, and he just wanted to get even. And later on, he meets this man who is this incredible, he's a bishop in this, I don't remember what they call him, but in this little city, and everyone's turning Jean Valjean away, treating him bad because of what he's done, and they just don't let him escape this label of being a convict. And this man takes him in, feeds him, lets him sleep in his house, and just treats him like, he calls him brother, and treats him with dignity. And he is just kind of overawed at this attention, but he's also still pretty bitter. So in the evening, he gets up, he takes this man's money, candlestick, silver, and runs off. He gets caught, he gets taken back to the bishop, and the bishop says, no, I gave him those things. You're free to let him go. He can go free. And this completely changes Jean Valjean's life. He starts to wonder, where have I been going? What have my motives been? Is that really the path I want to go? Or do I want to change and become a new man and actually be motivated by love like this bishop was? So he completely changes his life. So I'm going to invite you to take a book or a movie that you watched recently that has interesting characters in it and start writing down, the character, what their motives were, if their motives changed through the story, and what those motives led to. So maybe do that with like 4 or 5 characters and follow them through to the end and just write down why did they make the choices they made, and then where did those motives lead. It'd be cool if you could even do this with your family. Have everybody maybe have a character that they're following or a couple, and then discuss it at the end. And where did these different motives lead and why? I love this because it helps them start to gather evidence themselves. Oh, what motives do I have and where are they leading? And so I basically do this with any movie we watch in our house. And sometimes my kids are like, oh, Mom, do we have to discuss everything? But I'm like, well, then what's the point of watching it if we're not going to learn from it, right? So they kind of go along with me and they humor me and let me do this. But I really do think it helps them start to think about themselves, their own life, and what they really want out of it, and to start gathering what true motives look like, right? Because they'll start to see, like, even people do the same thing, like the Thénardiers and Jean Valjean both took care of Cosette. They both agreed to take her in, and their motives led to very different actions with her and how they did things. And so, we can start to look at that and talk about why that is. And then lastly, I want you to take the workbook that you printed, or if you didn't print it, look at the worksheet, and you can write this in your own journal. But start to look at your Rise Up goals, each of the ones that you wrote in the different sections, and look at your motives behind each one. So you may have to tweak some of them if you start to notice, like, maybe the motive for this one is more fear, or maybe the motive for this one is more status, wanting to fit in, or whatever it may be. And try to align them more with your best motives, right? So as you do these exercises, you'll notice that those people who do things based on love, and I'm sure you've noticed this throughout your own life as well, are those that are led to the best outcomes. And so love is the best motive and the things that lead us to the best results. And so if you look at your different Rise Up goals, go through them and check, am I doing these things out of the best motives? And if not, how can I tweak them or change them so that they are being led and standing on the foundation of love as I move forward. So that's the challenge. Go ahead and get that out and start looking through it and refining things if you need to. And let me know how it went. I look forward to hearing